The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
There's a spate of trade deals with some of our most important trading partners in place that are going to be huge tailwinds to the economy.
The administration says the economy will only get better from here as the tariff deadline has passed. So why was the Commissioner of Labor Statistics fired by the president today? Also, documents declassified inside the latest batch of Russia collusion files. Who on the outside of Washington may have been a part of the plan to get to Trump? And then vapes were thought to be a healthier form of smoking. Why new research says that thought couldn't be more wrong, and what they are finding inside the smoke being inhaled. This is the National News Desk, America's News. Now, I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thank you for joining us on a very busy Friday. Any moment now, President Donald Trump will be arriving in Bedminster, New Jersey, where he will spend the weekend for a little of R&R in August at his golf course. He will return to D.C. on Sunday night. But today, the deadline for trade deals has expired as trading partners worldwide have officially been assigned new tariff rates for their products coming into the United States. But President Trump is postponing the effective date for the tariffs to become active for another 7 days. As many as 68 countries are subject to the new tariffs. Mexico and China are the exceptions. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar reports on how all of this is playing out.
Friday marking the true start of a new world order of trade, at least as far as President Trump is concerned.
This is truly the dawn of the golden age of America.
New tariff rates have been set, but in another last-minute delay, U.S. Customs will be given another 7 days to make preparations to collect this latest influx of import taxes. Goods from Brazil, Syria, Laos, Myanmar, and Switzerland to be taxed at the highest rates. Other allies and key trading partners like India, Vietnam, Israel will see tariff rates between 15 and 25%. For America's neighbor to the north, Trump hitting Canadian goods not covered by the existing USMCA trade agreement with 35% tariffs. And after his Commerce Secretary said this Sunday,
no extensions, no more grace periods.
The president granting Mexico a 90-day extension, during which its products will be tariffed at 25%.
How have we made this relation? Well, like I've said here, with a cool head, understanding the arguments of the U.S., giving our own arguments.
During the months countries had to strike trade deals, negotiating became less important to Trump. As of Friday, just 7 bilateral deals had been announced, instead of the dozens that were expected. The rest of the countries either found out their tariff rate through letters like these or from this online post by the White House Thursday night.
This is making our country very rich and respected again.
Not all see it that way.
Trump's tariff negotiations, tariff threats, tariff chaos is making first a fool of the United States in the eyes of the nations of the world.
Americans are watching how tariffs impact their budgets. The president claims exporting countries and companies in the U.S. will not pass the new costs on to customers. Economists warn after these tariffs take effect, it's only a matter of time before they show up on price tags.
Your total is...
In Washington, I'm Atra El-Nashar for the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Breaking news out of Montana. Police are now on the lookout for this man. You see him right here. Michael Paul Brown, believed to be responsible for a shooting this afternoon at the Al Bar in Anaconda. We don't have exact numbers, but we are hearing there are multiple fatalities with at least 4 dead at the bar. Brown's house has been searched by the SWAT team, but he remains on the loose. This is a developing story. Stay with us as we continue to track the latest throughout the night. We'll have coverage for you both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. Cities in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic are gearing up, or cleaning up, I should say, from severe flooding on yesterday. Look at this. Intense storms caused major travel disruptions, especially in New York City and parts of New Jersey. Several roads were closed, rail service was disrupted, and many flights were canceled or delayed. Over 100 people were rescued from a flooded Long Island Railroad train in Queens. In Maryland, a 13-year-old boy was killed after being swept into a drainage pipe in Mount Airy, according to the fire department.
The fact that the water was rushing so hard and so deep, and the fact that we had limited access and the pipe is very small, as you will see, it made it very difficult for us to get to him underneath there, and with the water rushing by him all the time, he had no chance.
An active manhunt is ongoing in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, for a quadruple homicide suspect. The U.S. Marshals Service, along with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, they have identified Austin Robert Drummond as their person of interest. On Tuesday, 3 adults and a teen were found killed alongside a road. A baby was found alive nearby and is now safe and being cared for. Drummond was previously convicted of armed robbery in 2014 when he was only 16 years old. He is considered armed and dangerous. The suspect, in connection with the double homicide in Arkansas, made his first court appearance today. 28-year-old Andrew James McGann is charged with 2 counts of capital murder in the killings of a husband and wife. Authorities say he admitted to fatally stabbing the couple in Devil's Den State Park Saturday, but he did not know they were hiking with their 2 children. McGann is being held in jail without bond and will be formally arraigned. These charges on August 25th. 16 states and the District of Columbia are suing the administration to keep access for gender-changing treatment for minors in public hospitals. The claim states the president's executive order enacts a national ban of the treatments without consent of Congress. In the spring, a federal judge blocked the executive order in Maryland. On the state level, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled this year that Tennessee's law banning the procedures to be lawful and constitutional. The now debunked Trump-Russia narrative hung like a dark cloud over President Trump's first term, but where did it come from? National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us from Washington with more on the newly declassified documents that are helping unravel what became known as Russiagate.
Answers about the origin of the Trump-Russia collusion narrative coming into focus this week after Senator Chuck Grassley published newly declassified but not authenticated emails from 2016, purportedly between 2 senior employees of billionaire liberal activist George Soros with the DNC and Clinton campaign.
I think it's evidence of the great depth that the deep state will go to cover up weaponization that was going on in the FBI and the executive branch of government generally under the Obama administration.
In the memos, top Soros operatives Leonard Bernardo and Jeffrey Goldstein discussed damage control with then DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
These conversations appear to have been an effort to fuel the Russian collusion narrative against Donald Trump to distract from the scandals surrounding Hillary Clinton, such as the classified emails kept on her private server and concerns about donors receiving special access while she served as Secretary of State.
In a July 2016 email, Bernardo allegedly wrote, HRC approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing emails.
We did this long investigation in 2017 and 18. This would have been very relevant. We all knew this had happened. We all knew why they were doing it. But why weren't we given the email? That is against the law. They broke the law right there.
But there is some question about the authenticity of the Bernardo emails. According to the newly declassified documents and appendix to Special Counsel John Durham's Russiagate report, intelligence analyst's best assessment was that the Bernardo emails were likely authentic. But after further investigation, Durham concluded that the emails were a composite of emails from multiple think tanks obtained by Russian hackers. The Open Society Foundation responding with a statement calling the allegations an outrageous falsehood that is politically motivated. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Convicted child sex trafficker and associate of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, has been transferred to a minimum security federal prison in Texas. It is not immediately clear why she was relocated from a facility in Florida. It comes among tremendous interest in the Epstein files and on the heels of the Justice Department's top deputy privately discussing the case with Maxwell. She's appealing her conviction and 20-year sentence to the Supreme Court. Maxwell reportedly says she'll tell what she knows in exchange for immunity. Coming up, the major U.S. cities that had some of the worst air quality in the world today, and when conditions will improve. Then, significant shifts in leadership following today's jobs report, who's stepping down and who just got fired. Then, the security a Utah jail is adding after an inmate violently attacked a group of deputies. We're back in 90 seconds. quality in the northern Midwest is among the worst in the world today as smoke and toxins from Canadian wildfires, they drift south. Look at that right there in the bullseye. Smoke and toxins from those wildfires, they're drifting south across the U.S. Minneapolis, Chicago, and Detroit, they're all listed in the top 10 worst air quality for major cities today worldwide. The areas you see in red, they are considered to have unhealthy air for all people when outside. Tomorrow, it is expected to improve to unhealthy for sensitive groups. In Utah, Governor Spencer Cox is declaring a 30-day state of emergency due to wildfires burning in the state. This order frees up more resources to help get the fires under control. The state is also placing new fire restrictions in parts of southern, southeastern Utah. Visitors to the national parks are now banned from igniting open fires. Petroleum and propane-fueled stoves and grills are still allowed, but only at designated campsites and zones. One of the 7 members of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors is resigning. Today, Adriana Cooler, a Biden nominee, announced she's leaving without saying why. It creates an opening for President Trump to fill, of course, with a new nominee. It comes after President Trump said the board should take control away from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell if interest rates don't come down. He called Powell a, quote, stubborn moron on Truth Social following today's jobs report. It shows the unemployment rate ticked up and the economy added just 73,000 jobs in July. Downward revisions from the previous 2 months show significant labor market cooling. Here's what the White House is saying.
You know, this jobs report isn't ideal. There's no way around that. But nevertheless, I think that the downward revisions reflect a couple of anomalous factors. First of all, about 60% of the downward revision is due to quirks of the seasonal adjustment process. People know what the lay of the land is now, both on the trade front and on the tax front. And so, you know, we expect, we expect things to get materially stronger from here now that our policies are starting to sort into place.
This downward revision was the largest in years, with 258,000 fewer jobs than previously reported. President Trump is firing the commissioner of labor statistics, claiming on Truth Social today that the jobs numbers have been manipulated for political purposes. He says Erica McAnterfer, quote, will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. This, as a new survey found, nearly half of American workers are thinking about quitting their jobs again. But is now the right time to quit? The National News Desk, Angela Brown, digs into the report and why it matters to you.
We've been here before, the Great Resignation during COVID, and now you could call it the Great Reshuffle Round 2. According to a new Bankrate survey, nearly 1 in 2 workers say they are planning to look for a new job in the next year. But here's the catch. It's no longer a worker's market.
There is 1 job open for every unemployed job seeker. So that is a reversal from the red-hot job market we saw several years ago, where there were 2 jobs open for every job seeker.
Another twist, the surge in worker restlessness is colliding with fresh layoffs and budget cuts, especially at the federal level. Just this week, the New York Times reporting more than 150,000 federal workers accepted President Donald Trump's resignation incentives on top of workers being fired or laid off.
We're seeing job losses at the federal level, the likes of which we really haven't seen.
And it's not just numbers on a spreadsheet, it's people, especially black women. A major headline recently, 300,000 black women left the workforce in the last 3 months.
So just black women's labor force participation has dropped by just over 2% in the last 3 months. And that has sucked over $37 billion out of U.S. GDP.
So as workers gear up to jump jobs, many may find the safety net is gone. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
The war of words between Russia and President Trump is resulting in military maneuvers and escalating tensions. Today, the president announced on Truth Social he is moving 2 nuclear submarines to appropriate regions to counter Russia. He says this is in response to comments made by former Russia President Dmitry Medvedev, who said U.S. ultimatum made against Russia are steps towards war. Before this update, it was announced that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff would be headed to Russia to help work out the conflict between them and Ukraine. This will be his second visit to Russia to try and work things out. He last visited the country back in April, where he met Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin. Today, Special Envoy Witkoff was in Gaza alongside American Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. The two visited the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation food sites to gain a full understanding of the humanitarian situation in the war-torn enclave. The Hamas-run hospitals claim there is mass starvation in Gaza, even as there is food and aid waiting to be distributed inside Gaza.
The capacity of this place and the amount of food that there is here right now, it's equivalent to 800 trucks waiting for the UN. So this is a proof, according to Israel, that when UN wants, UN does it.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers is pushing to pass new legislation to resolve Camp Lejeune contamination cases. Industrial chemicals plague the North Carolina military base's drinking water from the 1950s to the 80s. The Camp Lejeune Justice Act would allow affected veterans to file claims against the U.S. government. Lawmakers say the bill will give people the relief they deserve and remove roadblocks from a previous bill to give claims a fair review.
We thought it was clear that you get a jury trial under the original PACT Act, but a district court judge said it was not clear. So we are making it crystal clear.
Our Navy was derelict, really, in recognizing the problems that were going on at Camp Lejeune. This was pulled together as part of the PACT Act and says, hey, look, it is time to have your day in court.
There are over 400,000 pending claims with the Department of the Navy. A disturbing new report linking concentrated toxins to some of the most popular vaping devices used in America. Cancer-causing metals are being inhaled directly into the lungs of users, posing a more traditional risk than traditional cigarettes. Spotlight on America's Lisa Fletcher got an up-close look at what scientists exposed.
Inside this California lab, simulated smoking.
These devices are activated through vacuum,
exposing a serious toxic secret in e-cigarettes or vapes. What UC Davis professor Brett Poulin and his team found is evidence that in some ways vaping poses health risks far beyond those of smoking tobacco.
The metals get more and more concentrated as you use the device.
Toxic heavy metals like lead, nickel, and antimony linked to cancer, respiratory illness, and neurological damage.
You can see different metallic components that are in contact with the e-liquid. On the left is a device that does not have a lead-based component that we found, and you can see that it's a clear color. On the right is the virgin e-liquid of a device that contained lead alloys, and you can see clearly it almost looks like motor oil.
Vaporized and entering the lungs of users. In one worst-case scenario, the lead concentration Poulin detected from 1 day of smoking a particular e-cigarette was equivalent to 19 packs of traditional cigarettes.
Consistently, as the devices got older, they became essentially more toxic.
A chilling new risk in a vaping market flooded with products that have no safety oversight. Keep in mind, the FDA has only authorized 39 vaping products designed to help smokers quit. None of those pose these safety hazards. But those approved devices make up less than 1% of the total vaping device market.
All of the top-selling disposable devices are illicit. They're not legally sold, but they are the top devices.
We've seen little or no enforcement of laws intended to protect the public from these illegal vapes. Take a look at our video from major vaping expos we attended this year in Miami and Nashville. The aisles were packed with vaping products which are illegal under federal law, on display and ready to ship to shops all over the country.
That was my most disheartening time at FDA, was attending those shows.
For years, David Oliveira worked at the Center for Tobacco Products within the FDA. Part of his job was going to these trade shows to look at new products.
I saw the nicotine levels increasing year after year. They went from 5,000 puffs to 10,000 to 15, 25,000. The most recent show I attended, I saw some with 50,000 puffs. And I said, this is a major concern.
A concern that often leads to a discussion of abuse by teenagers. But Oliveira tells me the problem is much bigger. The majority of users are millions of adults trying to quit cigarettes, unwittingly using cheap, unapproved vaping devices, which are poisoning them with every puff.
There's probably 10 times as many adult consumers buying these Chinese products than there are youth.
Which brings us back to Brett and his California lab. He hopes his new research will open regulators' eyes and encourage them to crack down on the dangerous devices that are flooding the U.S. market. For Spotlight on America, I'm Lisa Fletcher.
Coming up, a child was nearly abducted in a Virginia mall. The shocking discovery about the suspect's past right after this. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Utah with a rare attack on deputies by an inmate.
On Tuesday, the Utah County Sheriff's Office says 2 deputies brought Michael Jane into an interview room over contraband.
They were just pieces of papers that our deputies were trying to ask him about him and why he had printed them off.
The Sheriff's Office says the deputies told Jane they were going to take him back to his cell, and he became angry.
Mr. Jane actually inserted one of his fingers into the eye socket of one of our deputies in an attempt to remove his eye.
They say Jane also tried to stab him with a broken pair of eyeglasses.
Does this signal any need for increased deputy presence, especially with this inmate now?
So with that particular individual, yeah, there'll be some more protocols that'll be put in place because of the violent encounter.
The fight added 4 charges to Jane's rap sheet.
It's striking that somebody could do this in broad daylight and no one would notice.
Scary moments inside the Fair Oaks Mall. A toddler grabbed at a popular play area for children. According to Fairfax County Police, Andres Caceres Haldin even made it to the upper level of the mall before the child's parents stopped him. With the help of their real-time crime center, officers arrested him soon after, also discovering he allegedly stole a car earlier that day.
7 News on your side, digging into the suspect's lengthy criminal history, detailing more than 30 cases in Fairfax County.
It's really disturbing that somebody with a criminal history this long, and he was released to the public. That shouldn't have happened.
I am here to do my job as an elected member of Congress to do an oversight. Inspection of this facility.
A day after Sheriff Joe McGill announced the Nye County Sheriff's Office collaboration with ICE and immigration enforcement officials, Congressman Stephen Horsford says he was in the Nye County area doing several of his congressional duties, one of them being looking into the Nevada Southern Detention Center's conditions, as well as that of the detainees being held under ICE custody, a visit Congressman Horsford said he's done before. However, upon his arrival, Congressman Horsford says the facility's warden, John Mattos, repeatedly denied him entry.
There's an unwillingness to have transparency. So the question is, what are they hiding?
Coming up, another crew is on its way to the International Space Station. How long the astronauts will be there and what they'll do. We'll be right back.
1, ignition, engine's full power.
A crew of 4 astronauts are on their way to the International Space Station after the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launch from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida today. They are expected to reach the space station this weekend and will stay for at least 6 months. They'll study things like plant cell division and the effects of microgravity. That's going to do it for us for this edition of the National News Desk. We invite you to join us again this evening as we get the latest information on the ground in Montana as the manhunt continues. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tonight at 10.